Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter, and we just got done with a fire episode of Office Hours that ended in a tight race of a Jeopardy style game show. It was really fun. And I'm happy you guys are here. We've had a full day of amazing content here on Adobe Live, and we are jumping into the XD Daily Creative Challenge. We've got tons of people in the chat, and we are having a blast. Let me know where you're coming from. Say hello and say hi to everybody else. Tell them where you're coming from and what your weekend plans are. That would be super duper fun. Well, hey, we are on challenge number 5. Let's jump over really quickly to my screen and let's get cracking on this XD Daily Creative Challenge because Nick Longo is in the chat still. He was having fun. He wants to see what we're doing. Laura Staneva is here. Katrina, Cody Bear still in the house from the last stream. Lots of people coming over from the last stream, keeping that energy high and jumping into the XD Daily Creative Challenge. Hey, we have been doing some fun challenges and we're going to be taking a look at some of your submissions on Discord afterwards. So make sure that you stick around. But for now, why don't we jump right here from the Creative Challenge. You can sign up hitting that big blue button over at behance.net/challenge/XD. Why don't we jump over to our starting file for the day? Our starting file has a few things going on. Let's talk about what the challenge is. We're going to be designing a scheduling tool for remote teams, allowing users to add topics, discussion items, important details. We're going to be using some repeat grids, some stacks, so that we can design reusable UI components. All right, this is going to be a fun one, and let's see what we have. I took the liberty of creating a couple assets that I didn't feel like doing on camera because they're little things like search bars and buttons. So you can see in our document assets, I have a whole bunch of colors and I have some fonts and I have some icons and some search bars, so on and so forth. And I have these really great colors that I've created here, just different hues and values of my starting colors. And if you're wondering how I did that, it's a really cool thing. You can actually just select a color, and I'm going to open up my plugins panel by pressing Command or Alt-Shift-P, depending on your operating system. I'm going to go to this plugin called Color Scale. Okay, so I'm going to open up Color Scale, and it's going to ask me how many steps do I want. So I'm just doing 10 steps. I'm removing that final end color, which would be actual pure white, and I'm saying give me this color and 10 steps down towards white. When I do that, boom, it just generates all of my colors, and I took the liberty of taking all of those colors and just popping them into my assets because it's nice to have these different values to work with. And so we have these really cool values of color. We can get rid of this artboard. We don't need that anymore. And why don't we kick over to our first artboard and get started. So hey, if you're wondering how you build color palettes or how you figure out different values of colors to work with, that might be a quick hack for you guys. It's a great fun plugin to use. Let's get started and zoom in. We have this great little search bar here. What we want to do is create a calendar page and maybe if we have time, a meeting agenda page. So let's start with the calendar page where we'd be able to see kind of a block that describes the upcoming calendar event or meeting that we're going to have. I'm going to start by, let's do this. Let's just turn on, I have some smart guides in there. So I'm just going to turn those on. I'm just going to draw a rectangle out here to the outer edge of those smart guides, and I'll just place this about 15 pixels below my search bar. I'm going to take off the border, and I'll tell you what, let's use for our fill. I think I actually want to fill it with this very light color. Now the reason I had all these different hues and variations is because we can actually take some text here and Command C, Command V and bring this inside, and we can do something like this is a design meeting like that, right? We can left-hand align that text, and then we can use the darker color, and now we have like all of these, each individual calendar events or blocks, they're going to be themed by color, which is pretty cool. And I'm using Lotto today as my typography choice. Let's just kind of bump this up, and I like the size that it's at. Maybe I'll bring it down. 15 is pretty good. Let's keep it at 15. So we have a design meeting there. Why don't we just keep cruising with this kind of idea? We're going to drop this text down, maybe something like 12, and then let's kick this down to like a regular text. But I tell you what, let's do this. Let's make it black and just bring the transparency down. And I'll tell you why we're going to do that in a second. We're going to want to create a reusable component out of this object that we're making right now. And I want to be able to change the background color and maybe one or two little things. but I don't want to change every single color. So by me giving it a black fill and bringing the transparency down, it's going to see through and it's going to look a little gray, and it has just a little tinge of that green inside of it. So let's do a time for this one. Maybe this one is like 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, something like that. Why don't we do a similar thing over here? We'll put it on the right hand edge, right align the text, and we're gonna be playing with also some pinning and responsive resizing features today, which is gonna be really, really fun. So we'll put today over there. That looks pretty good. So far, so good. Okay, everything's looking good. Now, why don't we do this? Let's bring this down, and why don't we bring the transparency of this up just a little bit? And I'm gonna use Content Generator, which is another plugin that I enjoy using. We're gonna come over here to Content Generator, open it up, and let's just select a paragraph like that. It's gonna pop a paragraph in, and it's just stretch the text all the way out because it's auto width text. What we want instead of auto width, yikes, that is really far, is auto height text. So now we should be able to, if I get back over, yikes, let's do this. Let's copy the text out of there, shall we? And just make this a lot easier on ourselves. Let's just zoom in, select the text, get it out of there. Okay, let's bring one more piece of text down and just fill the area like we want and make it auto height. Now when we pop in some lorem ipsum or some filler text, it's going, no matter how much text is in there, it's going to adjust the box for us, which is kind of nice. So we should have maybe a little description of the event that we're doing, and then let's bring this box down a little further. And let's hit E for ellipse and drop some avatars in here, okay? So why don't we do, I'll just fill it with a color so you can see it for now. I'll give it a white border around the side, and then I'll just kind of space them out like so. Boom, boom, boom. Then I'm gonna use my distribution tool up at the upper right-hand corner just to horizontally distribute these little guys. Then I'm gonna head down to another plugin. It's like plugin day on this episode, which is really, really fun. Let's hit UI faces, and then you can go and select photos specifically, but why don't we just apply randomly? With those 4 ellipses selected, I'm gonna apply randomly. UI faces is gonna go out, hunt down some avatars for me, and just pop them right in, just like that. And we can shrink this down, doesn't need to be so big. And before the start of the episode, I created a fun little component that has some component state. So this guy has a little button toggle. We'll just bring this over to the right-hand side. This little button toggle will allow us in our prototype to just go from camera view to call mode. Just a little something to add in there. Now, let's play around a little bit. Let's have some fun. I'm gonna grab these elements. I'm gonna group them together. Let's go to our layers panel. I'm flipping back and forth between layers and my components and my plugins by using the hotkeys. So it's Command or Alt Y to go to your assets panel, and then add Shift to that little combo, and you'll get the assets panel, not the layers panel, and you can kind of flip back and forth between the two. And then if you do Alt Shift P, you can head really quickly over to your plugins panel. That's kind of nice little hotkeys there. Now what I want to do is I want to grab all of the elements that are inside here. Let's grab all of these avatars, group those together, and all the rest of the elements as well. Let's group them together, and let's call this a, let's just rename the layer card like that. And then what we want to do is we want to turn on padding, and I think that could be pretty good. Let's turn padding on, and I'm going to go to the individual elements that are inside. Yep, just like this. And I want to turn on manual for everything, right? So that way my time is locked to the top left. This one can be actually locked to the top as well. This one can be locked to the top right. My avatars, let's see, we want those to be to the bottom left, and this one we need it to be to the bottom right, okay? So that means, hopefully, if we start kick that out a little bit, but you see my entire card expands. That's really nice. And if I don't like the spacing, now that I have it inside of a stack, I can manually adjust each one of these things. I can hold down Shift if I want and adjust everything to be consistent. But the cool news is I can also rearrange all the elements. So if I want this up here, I can just drop it into place, or maybe I want the description at the top, and everything just rolls around really, really nicely. Now, a little key to stacks is you can actually move things in a stack to be You can move it on a whole as well. And if you don't want that, just make sure you're holding down the shift button when I drag something. That way, look, I can drag my mouse around and it stays perfectly in line like we want it to. So now that we that's exactly like we want with the stack turned on, the whole shebang. Maybe really quickly before we move on, we'll round our corners just a little bit, kind of nice. And then we can drag another version of this down. Now here's where, again, those color palettes really come in handy. We can grab our color, head over to our color palette and say, hey, we want this text to be orange. Therefore, we want the background to be the very bottom of our scale that leads almost to white, which would be this color here. And now you see our text that's blended with black, transparency down. That makes sense. All we have to do is come in and change the instance of the icons and everything in here. So let's grab this. Now we don't want this to be all light like the other one. So why don't we go 2 steps up? And that just gives that a little bit of punchiness. So the whole control stands out. Look, there's another one. Done. Easy. Change the color. Nice. Remove some of the text. The card collapses. Feels really good. Let's call this one a development meeting. And let's do that one tomorrow because we have the text right hand aligned. Everything kicks out to the left. Everything's working really good. Let's do one more. So let's just make sure it's lined up nicely. And let's do it again. Let's do, let's do the pink this time. So we're gonna choose the card and choose this pink hue that's almost all the way to white. Do that, come in here and just change our icons really quickly. And again, just one step up, maybe 2 steps up for that pink. We need it to pop just a little bit. And this one can be an admin meeting or something, okay? So admin meeting like that. And this one can be on Thursday. Now, what's really cool is we have everything, all the info and content inside of these cards inside of a stack, but we can grab all of them. Let's head over to our layers panel. You can see our 3 cards up here in our layers. We can grab all 3 of these cards. So why don't we just grab card all together, group them together and put them in a layer called cards, and we'll turn the stack on there as well. Now you can see Adobe XD has turned on our vertical stack. We have spacing. What does this mean for us? This means exactly what you think it means. We can actually space out the cards just like we could with all the internal elements inside, but we can also swap elements like this. Maybe we want these 2 to be up here and we don't have to worry about the spacing. Everything just kicks around. So, oh, whoops, my bad. Like this tomorrow should be up 1. Boom, just pop it in with our stack. And now we have a nice kind of like layout of all the meetings that we are doing, okay? Why don't we go and try that one more time with a meeting agenda? I think that could be a good idea. So what should we do over here? I want you to notice one thing. I had some smart guides that were set up, and the outer guide is set at 30 pixels or so from the outside edge. I think it was actually 20 pixels. And then I just went in a little bit more and I set another line, another smart guide, and I made sure that all of my content inside of my cards, inside of my form fields, everything, that those actually lined up on the internal gutter. Now you could be using a layout or a pixel grid. I just chose to throw some smart layouts on there. So all that to be said, you do what works for you. Maybe you're a pixel grid kind of person. Maybe you like a layout of columns with gutters. Maybe you just like smart guides. In this instance, I just like the smart guides. So why don't we do our next piece, and we're gonna be using some stacks in this one as well. I'm gonna take rectangle, and I think I'll just draw like a nice shaped rectangle, and let's just close that up. And I'll tell you what, take the border off. What color do we want this to be? Let's open this up. Why don't we make this our green color, but we don't want dark green. Let's go somewhere in the middle, like this hue right here. And let's head to down in our assets. We have a couple of assets lined up already. So maybe I think we had a camera icon. Let's do that one. Let's bring that camera icon out. And we're looking at it and it's like, that camera icon kind of blends in. Here, let's take our smart guides off so you can see it's not really popping out. So we could either make the icon white itself, or maybe we could lighten this up. Yeah, we could definitely lighten that up. Or I tell you what, maybe we would go in like more of that middle hue and lighten that up. But let's make this icon a little bit bigger if we can. Ooh, I'm having a little problem there. So I'll tell you what, why don't we ungroup that from the component and try to stretch that thing out. That works. Okay. Alrighty dighty. Let's keep going. So we have that little guy. I tell you what, why don't we group those together? And I'm going to make another one right next to it. And this is going to be kind of like the meeting agenda. So if I tap into like my green design meeting over here, what things are we going to be talking about inside of here? I don't know. Let's figure it out. One way we can add avatars into our project is by using a plugin like UI Faces, but another way would just be if we had some avatars in here, we can just drag those into a shape. Those work really great in repeat grids as well. You can drag a whole list of them and it'll kind of like populate the entire grouping, which is pretty nice. Why don't we grab our search text and kind of duplicate that, bring that down, and bring the opacity up. I need a name, maybe who's in the chat right now. Like Laura Staneva is in the chat, so this is going to be Laura's contribution to the meeting in our little application that we're building. So we have this person scheduled for maybe 10 minutes of talk time. Let's right align that and put it lined up right there on the right hand side. Let's shrink it down though. It doesn't need to be that big. Maybe back up to about 10. And let's neutralize this text a little bit. It doesn't need to be so bright. Okay, everything's lining up really, really nicely. I'm just going to grab all the elements, make sure things are lined up with my horizontal alignment tools, and let's keep working. Let's keep rocking and see what else we can do here. I think I'm going to bump this up actually a little bit and maybe just put some subtext down below it and be like, hey, the topic is design handoff. Let's left hand align that text. I'm working really, really fast today because I really want to see this thing all put together. I'm going to hit L for my line tool. Let's just draw kind of a line down that encapsulates any other details we want to talk about for this thing. Kind of like a GitHub kind of like tracking line. Something nice right there. That's kind of nice. I'll tell you what, let's take our rectangle tool. Let's just draw a rectangle across. And what do we have these rounded at? Everything we're doing is kind of like 4 pixels of corner radius, so we want to keep things consistent. So let's just fill it with maybe that same color, and let's look and see what other assets we have. Maybe something like this little file icon, and we can turn it white. That's kind of nice. And we're just gonna borrow some more text and pop it in right here and say design files. Cool. Let's fill that with white as well. Just space that out and make it a little bit smaller. Doesn't need to be so big. And I think we also had a download link, so icon download. Let's drop that in there as well. Okay, so we're going to group that whole thing together just like that, and then let's group this whole lockup together, and let's call this our agenda card. Okay, agenda card. This time, to save ourselves some time, we're going to hit Command or Control R and do a repeat grid and just repeat a bunch of these down just like that. And then hopefully we should be able to grab a bunch of avatars like we were talking about earlier and drag those in, and just like that it populated everything in my repeat grid with all the different faces. I also have a bunch of names, so we could actually drag the name on top of the name here. Boom, we get a bunch of names as well, which is super great. Really, really easy. I just zoomed in and lost my design. I don't know where I went. Okay, so why don't we, and because I picked so many, there were so many names in that document and there were so many photos as well, it's just going to continue to kind of like do all of those and fill them in as you go. And if you run out of names or images, it's going to start repeating for you, which is really, really nice. Why don't we do one thing? Let's make this whole thing scrollable. I'm going to hit R for rectangle. I'm just going to draw a white rectangle, take the border of it off, and I'm going to put this at the very back, and I want to group that together with my top nav. Actually, let's just bring our top nav up above. Really cool. And so that will end right below our search bar, and we'll just take now all of our details that are in here. We could change colors for all of these. We could do all that customization if we wanted to, but I think for now this is fine. We have names that are changed and all of those different elements. If we don't like this, I actually don't like this, I'm just going to bring these up a little bit and bring up our line. It's just like really, there's like a lot of wasted space there. So that's what's great about repeat grid, is I can change it in one place and it changes everywhere if I changed my mind on how I want that presented. So let's just space those out nicely, something like that. And then I'm going to turn on my horizontal scroll, or excuse me, vertical scroll. I turn that on and I want to make sure that everything is scrolling and you can't see it anymore after that. And at the bottom of the artboard should be pretty good. And if I preview my prototype, I should be able to scroll all of my different elements up and down and it scrolls behind my search bar, which is nice. Let's do one quick, easy little transition. Not an auto animate, nothing complex, but a simple transition from our design meeting that we have here. And we kick it over to our meeting agenda. And we're going to say on tap, we want to do a simple transition over to that next screen. And let's just do a slide left. Really, really easy. Ease out, and we'll do 0.3 seconds, like a nice crisp animation. And I'll tell you what, when we come here, I'm going to grab this one, and for some reason I already had this one there, but it's a tap trigger, and it's going to lead us to the previous artboard. If you haven't used previous artboard action, it's a really great one because you can have this single thing going to multiple spots, and no matter where it goes, it's always going to come back to the previous artboard, which is really, really nice if you want to create full-fledged kind of prototypes. Okay, with that being said, why don't we check our prototype? Let's move some of these things out of the way so we can see. Got this simple, clean, nice design. Really, really nice. We can click on any of the individual toggle switches we have. I can click on one of my meetings. I can go in and see all of the like elements or items on the agenda and who's speaking, and then we can head back. And that's just simple prototyping in Adobe XD. But really, the hero of the day is stacks, repeat grids, and simple transitions, making this whole thing come together. So I hope you guys enjoyed the challenge for today. I can't wait to see these posted all this weekend so we can pick it back right up here on Adobe XD's Daily Creative Challenge starting next Monday. But for right now, why don't we head over to Discord and let's see what amazing submissions you guys have put in from the previous challenges. This is one from yesterday's challenge, our e-commerce or product challenge. This is from Angelo Vaz. Let's go ahead and see if we can full screen this and see what he's got for us. Ooh, this was our little notifications sliding in to give a little social proof. They slide in, they fade out. I like the layout on this a lot. It's real slick. And the notifications sliding in from the left-hand side, you can't miss it. It's real noticeable. The color combo though, can we just talk about this design-wise? The color combo of this deep, dark blue and this poppy kind of like orange, I think it's really working. And you also have a really nice aesthetic with rounded corners everywhere. Even your product is really rounded. So it seems like you took the time to make sure that everything else really matched the aesthetic of the product. This is a beautiful design, and I love the alerts and the animations that you did there. This one is from Kisao. This is his or her first challenge. Let's check out this notification and animation. Nice, really quick. Just moving it from the top. It's got a little bit of that background blur on it, so it kind of blends in nicely. It looks really, really native, really, really nice. This could be a mobile application. This could be a mobile website as well. A little critique I might give, or a little feedback, is be careful of having too many elements and overusing imagery. And so we have imagery in here, but we also have some imagery down here. Do we really need this imagery? I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not. Think about that though. I would just challenge you to check that out and see what you think. Let's see what else we got. This is from Selambung. And this is for the sales page. Yep, let's go out and see and check out this prototype. I like the colors, like that bright pink. I'm not the biggest fan of how much shadow we're getting, and careful of these combinations of these colors. I would have really preferred, I think, this to go right down into more of a neutral color. So just watch out for those color combos. But I do love the notifications, how the notifications are neutral. See how much this just pops nicely off of this beautiful product shot and the colors that are there. And we feel like maybe these colors are competing a little bit, but I can't wait to see this prototype. I'm really, really excited. Let's just scroll up to the top and see. Oh, these are like stacking notifications, and you'd have to tap each one of them to turn them off. Super nice. Love it. Really clean, really, really nice work. We got time for maybe one more. Let's take a look. And this one is going to be from or Ellie, I don't know how exactly to say it, but you haven't participated in a challenge for too long, but this one looks like a great example. I love the high class like use of like black and neutral colors here. Really, really nice. The typography matches the style. Everything here looks really, really great. Even your colors, your accent colors here are matching the products. This is really integrating the design with everything. I love it. Super nice stuff. I like that you have a little background blur on your control items up here, like your buttons. Let's see if we can get, yeah, I like a black notification. It's just, for some reason, it's just classy. It's simple, and the whole vibe of it, the aesthetic kind of matches. You're having some of these little kind of glitch issues that we were having, or I was having on the stream. Just make sure that you are establishing your artboards the right way so you're not getting any of that glitchiness. But really beautiful work. Absolutely love it. Cannot wait to see more of your submissions next week. Make sure you join me right back here at the same time starting Monday morning to continue on in your journey in the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. I hope you guys are making amazing things, creating amazing things. We'll see you next week.